20 million kina budgeted for relocation. Clan vetting for LNG landowners completed. And Mission Aviation acquire new planes for rural services.
This is National EMTV News with Helen Sayer.
Good evening and thanks for joining us for Tuesday's news. The national government has budgeted 20 million kina to help with the first phase of relocating the affected Manam Islanders. Planning Minister Richard Maru says the challenge is now on the provincial government and the chairman of the Manam Restoration Authority to get the office of MRA running. Maru says a plan needs to be put in place of where affected islanders would be relocated to so that the national government could release the funds.
Minister Richard Maru says the resettlement of Manam Islanders has been talked about for a long time, and it is about time it happens. Maru says the provincial government, the chairman and board of the MRA, including a CEO, that still needs to be appointed to manage all local issues in order to move forward with the relocation.
We are now waiting for the CEO and the board to get the office of the Restoration Authority operational, and they need to work with us and other partners, including donor partners, to put together a plan to relocate the people. The question is, where do we relocate them to? And that needs to be sorted out by the authority so we can release funding to help with the initial phase of the relocation.
Talks on the resettlement of more than 10,000 displaced islanders by the volcano eruptions since 1996 until the recent one on the 23rd of January 2019 has taken a long time. Since the passing of the Manam Restoration Bill and the formation of the authority, to date the resettlement of the displaced islanders is yet to occur. However, Minister Maru says the national government is committed in making sure the issue is settled once and for all.
The national government is committed. We have provided for that in our budget for this year, and we would like to see that happen. We can't have the volcano going up every weekend, people running around. We need to now look at a long-term plan to relocate the people of Manam, and our government is committed, and I can only appeal to the governor and also the chairman and the board of the Restoration Authority to please get the act together with the Minister for Intergovernment and his department to get on with the relocation of the Manam Islanders, and we certainly will give them every support to make it happen. The resettlement has been talked about for a very, very long time. It needs to happen now, and our government wants to build a government to make it happen for the people of Manam.
Some of the functions of the Manam Restoration Authority includes the identification and acquiring of land for the displaced islanders and providing infrastructures like roads, bridges and schools and other government services.
I can confirm that the government has budgeted 20 million to help with the phase of relocating the Manam Islanders.
Martha Louise, National EMTV News.
The government has given 20 million kina to Port Moresby General Hospital, while 11 million kina was given to Lace Engau Hospital to build new cancer treatment facilities. Planning Minister Richard Maru says the money is to help hospitals position themselves to buy all the equipment they need and to build new treatment facilities. He says further funding will be provided in the next 2 weeks.
Minister Richard Maru says the first hurdle of getting the legislation passed by Parliament has already happened. The next step now is to get the equipment and building in place.
We've gone past that now with the passage of the legislation, and we need to get it through and get it certified by Parliament as soon as we can. The next step is to make sure we have the building and the equipment.
Maru says the government is committed to the construction of the buildings and is calling on the boards of both hospitals to start work as funding has already been provided. And the boards of both hospitals should start ordering the equipment and start work on the actual cancer treatment center without further delay.
Our government is absolutely committed to the building, and I want to ask the boards of both hospitals to move and get on with it. The funding they've been asking for has been basically provided with a little bit more to go. And there's no reason why they shouldn't have ordered the equipment and started to build the actual cancer center. They need to move. The government has done its part by providing the money, and I appeal to both the boards of Port Moresby General Hospital and Engau General Hospital to get on with the business of studying the procurement process for both the lay and the Port Moresby cancer centers.
The PNG Cancer Facility here in Lay's Engau Hospital is the only one provided in the country to help cancer patients. However, many Papua New Guineans seeking cancer treatment at Lay's Engau Hospital will still face difficulties. The unit is still without a radiation oncologist, while it also needs to replace the cobalt machine in order for patients to undergo radiotherapy treatment. The Parliament passed a Radiation and Safety Control Bill to allow for the replacement of the machine.
We've gone past that now with the passage of the legislation.
But the question now is when and how soon will the government work towards bringing in the new machines? Martha Lewis, National EMTV News.
An exercise to identify beneficiaries of the PNG liquefied natural gas project in Hela province has been completed. The lobbied process, or landowner benefit identification, which was formerly known as clan vetting, is an important requirement under the Oil and Gas Act and has taken a long time to complete.
The lobbied process is considered an important exercise for LNG-impacted communities, landowners and other beneficiaries. In January, Petroleum Minister Fabian Pock announced that the exercise will determine legitimate beneficiaries over the life of the PNG LNG project, and it was important locals support the lobbied project.
I will make sure that time will come only open bank account me by come here. Me by come here to make sure that whatever process you come carry out here must conclude.
It is through this exercise that ExxonMobil, the developer, will release royalty or equity payments to landowners through the Mineral Resources Development Company, or MRDC. In this case, it would be for landowners in PDL 7 area, which is located near Heights Gas.
Agreements where you may sign. No PDL 7, no PDL 1, you may talk review by come up. Why review no come up? No tupla, because underneath law system, no government, no law, no got proper ground, you may mark him identified.
A team of government delegates, including representatives from ExxonMobil and MRDC, were in Como yesterday to announce the completion of the lobbied exercise.
Petroleum work going to supportive department, and we play supporting you. You achieving this law. How much supporting you can, working or future work.
Initial talks on clan vetting had begun years after landowners signed the LNG agreement in Kokopo, but the actual surveying and consultation on the ground took a little over 10 years to complete.
This review and me got bloody outstanding issue with the government, bloody outstanding issue with the developers, bloody outstanding issue with the Landowner yet. This is by me principle. This is the time you minister me talk to you. This is one by important me talk to you. Review must come up.
Now, with the completion of the lobbied exercise, another important announcement was made. The accounts will open by the 12th of March, but before that happens, the locals need to appoint two directors, one representing PDL 1 and the other PDL 7. And the Electoral Commission is expected to conduct these elections.
Going forward, time me completing this law. Clan vetting, leadership me finish me like him. Coordination office for PDL 7. No consider one time company go inside lo have now you come up parasite lo have. Papang grant lo here you must ready lo give him grant. Me by kind of funding provision government by kind of funding Maniblo, tax credit stamp by me kind of fire. You must sign up in through house non law, DP yet law, outside law, Bandri law, company.
The same team is expected to return to Hela in March to announce the opening of accounts. Tekla Gunga, National MTV News.
The arrival of a new resident judge in Tari has given a boost to the law and justice system in a province that suffered from ongoing tribal fights and unrest. Acting Justice John Kalmi was accompanied by Chief Justice Sir Gibbs Salika. This one even has added to the ongoing restoration and recovery that began during the Christmas-New Year period.
A large crowd gathered to welcome Acting Justice John Kalmi. He takes up the post in Tari as the resident judge, and the decision to send him here was made after the passing of former resident judge Justice Martin Ipang last year. Governor Philip Undialu, who led the welcome party, says the small event is important for Hela in many ways.
So by March of 2018, we want to make some start in taking of the remedies. In how also having the judge, Chief Justice here is a good news for Hela.
The arrival of the new resident judge is a significant event, and if you live in Hela province, you'll know why. Over the last 12 months, the provincial government and law enforcement agencies have been dealing with a spike in serious crimes that happened after the 7.5 magnitude earthquake. The quake and crimes, separate events, but both added to the people's misery. Many of the crimes stemmed from tribal conflicts. Police and members of the PNG Defence Force and Correctional Service were largely outnumbered by armed tribesmen who wanted revenge for separate killings. Public servants were threatened. Many of the medical staff fled the province. At Pipewelly Technical School, 2 classrooms were burned by warring tribesmen. The process of rebuilding will cost millions of kina, and it will take several years to complete.
At
the Catholic Church-run Kupari Primary School, parents and students gathered to mark the start of the school year. The provincial government spent 3 million kina to rehabilitate the school after local clans destroyed the classrooms last year. It'll be a slow, painful process. The teachers' houses still remain unrepaired, but the community says it is committed to the rebuilding process.
Our manpower in the province is 90. 90 is the manpower. And this 90 manpower we have all been scattered, have been sent to various districts of Hela.
In every tribal conflict, there are many parties involved. And it's the minute and intricate cultural details that aren't fully understood by people outside of Hela. And to resolve conflicts, it takes skilled negotiators to bring about peace and understanding. Scott Waide, National MTV News, Tari.
National General Secretary of the PNG Teachers Association, Ugwalubu Moana, has called on Education Minister Pila Nenengi to withdraw the appointment of Willie Angu as the principal of the Port Moresby Business College. Mr. Moana says the appointment was politically motivated and that Mr. Angu is not legally qualified to hold such a position. Godwin Eki reports.
In November of 2017, Willie Angu was appointed by Higher Education Minister Pila Nenengi as principal of POM Business College, an appointment which later expired on December 31st, 2018. The PNG Teachers Association says the appointment was politically motivated and is calling on Minister Pila Nenengi to revoke the appointment of Willie Angu as principal of POM Business College.
The Papua New Guinea Teachers Association, as I said last week, sees that appointment is politically motivated. The officer is a base level officer. He does not have the merits. He doesn't have the qualifications. He doesn't have the experience to run that college. And he's ran that college for all of 2018. For the sake of the reputable administration of that particular college, the union is asking for the Minister for Higher Education to revoke his appointment of the principal at the college right now.
Moana says consultations for legal advice with state solicitors and PNGTA lawyers have adjudicated on the matter.
We have consulted the legal advices from within the department, from the state solicitor, and from our own lawyers, and we are convinced that Minister should act by withdrawing his instruments of appointment, allow the National Education Board appointment to take precedence over at the college.
With the request to Minister Niningi to let NEB take control of the matter, Moana says merit processes and procedures are highly considered by NEB. He says if proper actions are not taken in the next few days, an industrial action by educators of POM Business College will be taken.
We are mindful of the fact that merits, processes and procedures of teaching service, teacher appointments must at all costs be upheld. If these appointments are not withdrawn within the next few days, we will effect our industrial strike at the Port Moresby Business College.
Godwin Eki, National MTV News.
You're with National MTV News. We'll bring you more stories after the break. Don't go away. Welcome back. 2 young men are dead after a conflict between two groups in Popondetta town over the weekend. Oro Governor Gary Jufa confirmed that one was from Oro while the other from Eastern Highlands. The current situation followed events last Friday when 3 criminals stole a bus which later crashed as they were trying to get away. It so happened they crashed in the area where the bus owners lived. It is alleged that people from this area chased the criminals and managed to apprehend one, and they allegedly murdered him. Relatives of the deceased retaliated the same day. The fight escalated with the use of firearms into the residential areas of the two groups. Some were shot, with one later dying from his wounds. Mr. Jufa, who was out of the province during that time, has met with the PPC, Ijiritari MP Richard Masere, and the two conflicting groups, reaching agreements to settle the issue. The University of Papua New Guinea Council has suspended its registrar, Dr. Peter Petzel, for not administering a council decision to bring down UPNG's 2019 fees back to the compulsory fee of 2018. This comes after several UPNG student parents complained about the increase. On January 23rd, the new interim council had advised that the government promised to allocate UPNG funds in return for the university to bring the fees back to the 2018 structure.
On the 4th of February, MTV News had confirmed reports from students that they had continued to pay the 2019 fee of 4,292 kina, as per UPNG account instructions. In a telephone interview with MTV, UPNG Registrar Dr. Peter Petzel explained the accounts department had continued to charge students because the UPNG Interim Council's decision had not been effected in writing or distributed as a memo. Yesterday, a memo was sent out to students and staff advising of the fee structure changes and the suspension of Dr. Peter Petzel. UPNG Chancellor Jeffrey Kennedy advised students and staff in the circular number 641 that the decision for the suspension was reached after the registrar had failed to implement various council decisions, including the decision by the council to rescind the former council's decision to increase the 2019 tuition fee structure. It is expected the acting vice-chancellor will appoint an acting registrar to fill the position for 2 weeks. Adelaide Sirks Kari, National MTV News.
Transparency International Papua New Guinea has called on the state to audit 230 million kina in funding for the initial NID project. TIPNG saying it would be irresponsible for the government to continue to use public funds for the project without a full independent audit. This all comes after the National Planning Minister had raised concerns over the missing or misuse of 24 million kina by the National Statistics Office.
The anti-corruption NGO stating this in response to media reports that the National Planning Minister Richard Marrow was disappointed that the 230 million Kina NID registration system was not working. TIPNG Executive Officer Ariane Kasman says TIPNG shares the minister's concern and has been calling on for explanations of the loss or possible misuse of at least 24 million Kina and efforts to hold those responsible accountable.
A large amount of public funds has been involved in it, and to date there has been little accountability around it. We want the government to be more responsible and more responsive, and so we are calling on the government to ensure that they stop funding to the NID project, to make sure that the audit committee that was set up in September last year produces the report. This report is made public and the recommendations that are in the report are taken up. And lastly, to ensure that the people that are responsible are also held accountable.
The National Planning Minister recently speaking in the last parliamentary sitting about the push for NIDs in districts.
Because we made the choice to design a system as opposed to buying a system off the shelf. So that's where the bulk of the money went. And some mobile offices, and of course the main building here. Since I took over, we've now said we don't need to buy any more buildings. We need to partner the districts and the provinces and look at a cheaper way to roll out that program throughout the country.
But this all comes after 230 million Kina of public funds was pumped into the project, and to date only 800,000 plus people have been registered. And the chief national statistician, Rocco Koloma, suspended for the alleged misuse or misappropriation of 24 million Kina that had disappeared from his office.
For the head of NSO to be suspended and an investigation to take place. We know that in September last year, an audit committee was set up to investigate the NID project, and the head of NSO was suspended at the same time.
TIPNG says the recent release of the 2018 Corruption Perception Index ranks Papua New Guinea 138 out of 180 countries. And if the government is serious about combating corruption, then it must start by ensuring proper accountability in large public expenditure programs such as the NID project.
And the importance of the NID project. Everyone needs their national identification card, but we must ensure that the processes are being followed and that the state agencies that are responsible for implementing government policies are doing so in a more accountable and transparent manner.
Adelaide Xerox Kari, National EMTV News.
The Ranara community in Coast Medang is in need of a health centre to cater for a population of almost 3,000. The only aid post that was established 3 years ago has been serving the people from 4 electorates in Medang and Eastern Highlands Province until December last year. With support from New Britain Palm Oil Foundation and Coast District Development Authority, the community now have a new aid post and a staff house.
This is the old aid post that was serving almost 3,000 people of Coast District and Usinobundi in Medang and Ungai Bena and Hanganofi in Eastern Highlands Province. It was established in 1984 with no maintenance until late last year when it was shut down. This new aid post has replaced the old facility. It was open for use on the weekend together with the staff house. This was done through collective efforts by members of the community, Ramu Agri Industry, New Britain Palm Oil and Coast District Development Authority.
Population is stable land. Na miblo sa face hardship lol mama lo all kind time all mama got there lol slakain. Some time all come good all go all people center all something all ximal. Some time most all lose lorot.
The local health chairman led his community and sought support from the district to refurbish this old facility. In 2015, the Coast DDA gave them 50,000 kina. After consulting Ramu Agri Industry Limited, the company then facilitated in getting donors to fund the new aid post. The New Britain Palm Oil Foundation stepped in and supported with 127,000 kina to build this new aid post. This project is part of New Britain Palm Oil Limited 1 hour principle for communities within 10 kilometers of its plantation boundary.
We went through the initial discussion of the project and we got
the green light from the company, and the company came across, worked with the community here, and we derived cost, and from substance there we decided to have a staff house and actually maintain the existing health center.
According to the health chairman, Ranara doesn't get visits from the government offices. Mr. Musa has called on the district and the Madang provincial government to work together to bring basic services to the people. Julie Badui, Owa, National MTV News, Leh.
The Missionary Aviation Fellowship, or MAF, PNG headquarters in Mount Hagen welcomed one of its 6 new Caravan planes yesterday. MAF PNG, a non-profit organization, has been flying in the remotest parts of PNG for over 60 years, bringing help, hope and healing to the people. The new Caravans will give a facelift to MAF's aging Twin Otter planes.
Thank you. Thank you. MAF staff and their families welcome the arrival of the first new Caravan 208 at Kagamoga International Airport. The aircraft arrived in Mount Hagen at around 2:30 p.m. yesterday after a 5-hour flight from Meriba in Cairns. It was dedicated and commissioned to start its first official flight this week.
It is the first of 6 new aircraft inbound, represents the single largest purchase of aircraft by MAF International at any one time. Quite an investment in the country of PNG. And so we're in the process of a fleet transition where we are going from 3 types of aircraft, the GA8, the Twin Otters, and the Caravans, to a single type fleet. And so when everything is said and done, we'll have between 8 and 9 Caravans operating throughout the highlands of Papua New Guinea and the coastal.
Last year, MAF PNG transported 36,000 passengers in the 212 rural airstrips in PNG, medevaced 433 sick patients for free, and have flown at least 45 flights a day to the remotest parts of PNG. The transition to the new planes will give them technology to be able to fly safer. MAF PNG Country Director Todd Ebisha says with the new Caravans, they will overcome challenges like unpredictable weather, flying over rugged terrains during wet seasons, shorter runways of airstrips, and landing and taking off on muddy runways during wet periods.
They're newer aircraft. They give us technology that allows our crew to be much safer and safer for the people that we fly in Papua New Guinea as well. Also, the short field capability of these airplanes is significant. Not quite as good as the Otters, but they've got great economy, and they can get around the country and go to the some 212 airstrips that we serve on a regular basis.
MAF has been flying passengers to remote places with only 6 airplanes. It was difficult for them to maintain flights as well as maintaining the aircrafts. The decision by MAF International in America to purchase the 6 new Caravans for MAF PNG is a solution to provide services to the rural people.
We are truly making an impact throughout the communities, and I believe that these new aircraft are going to help us to continue that legacy of impact.
Vasanata Yama, National MTV News, Mount Hagen.
In the news ahead, Madang Airport set for upgrading, Bana Bridge reopened and 50 graduate with financial literacy skills. Details after the break. Welcome back to the news. Prime Minister Peter O'Neill and a government delegation launched 2 major projects in Madang today. This includes the upgrade of the Madang Airport at a cost of about 37 million kina. This will see a new terminal upgrade for runways, new fire service station and 4-lane road from airport to town. Prime Minister Peter O'Neill said despite political differences, people must be the focus of leaders. He said over the years, Madang has gone from bad to worse with crime and other issues. The project is targeted for completion within 18 months. Madang is home of outspoken opposition member Brian Kramer, who interrupted the proceedings to question the source of funding for the projects, adding that the project was initiated by the Somare-led government. And after almost 2 years of waiting, the fallen Bana Bridge in Madang has been opened. Prime Minister Peter O'Neill cut the ribbon with Madang Governor Peter Yama and Sumkar MP Chris Nangoy. Despite opening the bridge, the Prime Minister said an investigation will proceed into the previous contractor who walked away with 6 million kina. Meanwhile, PM O'Neill announced that 5 other bridges in Madang will be upgraded this year. Works Minister Michael Nally and Secretary David Wera were also present to witness the occasion. Meanwhile, Yanguru Sausia MP Richard Maru has committed 20 million kina for the reconstruction of the Hawaiian Bridge in East Sepik. The commitment comes after locals raised concerns on the bad state of the bridge. Hawaiian Bridge is situated along the Simogun Highway in the west coast of Wewak district. It connects about 80,000 people to services in Wewak town. The bridge was constructed in 1959 under the colonial administration. In 1970, the bridge was upgraded with metal frames. Minister Maru says the new Hawaiian Bridge will be constructed with concrete and will have 2 lanes. He added that funding is secured and work should start in 2 weeks' time. In other news, the Planning Minister urged Ramoniko management to work closely with the government to address the needs of the communities in the project areas. Mr. Maru said the state is not an equity partner and there is no benefit sharing agreement for the landowners, affecting the progress of developments in the mine impacted areas.
This is mutual deprivation and I fully support.
Planning Minister Richard Maru said the Ramoniko mine is here to stay and stakeholders need to work together. Mr. Maru said with the government launching of the infrastructure tax credit scheme this year, he will urge the company to participate in order to contribute to the developments in the project areas.
Under the agreement that was done at that time, there is no GST, no income tax, no revenue flows to the state, to the provincial government, to the landowners. Landowners are not equity partners in the project.
Whilst the Ramoniko mine has been in operation for the past 13 years, there is little to show for it. Locals have expressed frustrations over the lack of basic services, housing and electricity, amongst others. Mr. Maru said the government is not an equity partner in the mine project and there has not been any benefit sharing agreement for the landowners.
And that is really a very sad situation. Not only on the Raikos end, but I understand also at Bundi.
Mr. Maru said the company should work closely with the PNG government to seek grant funding from the Chinese government to build necessary infrastructure in the Usino, Bundi and Raikos districts where the Ramoniko projects are located. He said building roads in these areas will be a priority.
We must build a road from Erima Junction all the way down to Saido, and our government has made a commitment we want to start building this year.
Lucy Kopana, National EMTV News.
More than 50 people from the Gabutu and Vabukori area in the nation's capital today graduated with certificates in financial literacy skills. The financial literacy skills training was facilitated by Guinea-Guada Foundation Inc. with support from the CPL Foundation. Training manager Francis Saw said the program aims to train people on how to start and manage small businesses in their community to improve their living standards.
Put your certificate in the house to collect dust.
The Guinea-Guada Foundation Inc. has been training people on simple skills to help empower them to do something for themselves. And with their partnership with CPL Foundation, they have been running financial literacy skills training with people from Port Moresby and Ley. Today saw the second batch of students under this training program graduate with certificates in financial literacy.
Many of them, they run small businesses or they do marketing. Some of them have trade stores and all that, but the problem is they don't know how to manage their money properly. So we go out there and teach them how to teach them about financial management.
Oti Sarufa from CPL Foundation, when speaking at the graduation, urged the people to make use of the skills they received. She said financial knowledge in the country is very low and many people are having difficulties with saving money to start businesses. And such training will help empower them to start something for their own benefit. She said as part of CPL's way of giving back to the community, they will continue to sponsor this program.
Then you can imagine in a community where many people do nothing and they, just because they see that they cannot do anything, they revert to gambling, drinking, and they do so many things. So this is part of like life skills, building people to change the way they live and empower themselves.
One participant living with a disability, Samuel Eka, was happy to be part of the training program.
Kata manmeri or kata good pel tasole kam taso mi taso mi ka leken nuku tu na mi ka disability kam chen wande molain we mi har lepane wak marin na sans o botenuti we mi kan panin bata gini goda wande CBL tubla karun la sans la botenuti kam lo place straight na mi hamas nuku turu na mi tintin do luka tem la kakaruk na mi du kam warse wal manmeri ikat good pla health.
Rayon Lakingu National, MTV News.
Chukai Sports is next. Toti City dwellers anticipate a tough encounter in the OFC Champions League. Stay tuned for details after the break.
Chukai Sports.
Welcome to Chukai Sports. Current PNG champions Toti City dwellers are anticipating a tough encounter in their must-win match against Malampa Revivers FC in the OFC Champions League. This Group A match will be played in New Caledonia tomorrow at the Stade Yoshida Stadium.
Both teams last met 2 years ago in Auckland, New Zealand in the Champions League. Dwellers beat Malampa in a comfortable 5-2 victory. The Vanuatu team lost 5-0 in their opening match to Heineken Sport and will be hoping for a win to keep their quarterfinals hopes alive. Dwellers drew with Tahiti powerhouse AS Tefana in their first match. A win tomorrow will hopefully push them through to the quarterfinals depending on points difference. Lay's late fight back against Tefana shows how spirited the team is. Their defense proved to be a problem which they hope to fix before tomorrow's encounter. Captain Raymond Gunamba and counterpart Nigel Dabinyaba will be working extra hard to make sure their team earns some points. Malampa FC will be out for revenge while Dwellers will be eager for another upset. The match will be played tomorrow at Stade Yoshida Stadium in New Caledonia at 3 p.m. local time. The match will be streamed live on the OFC website. Elijah Levitt, National, MTV Sports.
After a week-long break, the ICTSI Palai started their training yesterday in preparation for the Hong Kong Sevens. Former captain Kim Lirapela says the team is currently working on areas that need much improvement. But she says the main aim of the Hong Kong Sevens is to get the team qualified into the world circuits.
Placed in one of the strongest pools, the ICTSI Palais gave it their all as they knew what they were up against in their recent tournament in Sydney. Playing some of the toughest teams, France, England and New Zealand, the aim was to get on the scoreboard in all of the 3 matches.
I thought
Kim Lirapela says looking back at the game, the team has certainly improved and have seen some improvements since their last match in Sydney last year.
We were in a really tough pool, New Zealand, France and England, pool of death. But I thought our performance improved from the last previous tournaments, especially the Sydney Sevens in particular, especially the game against New Zealand.
She says watching the video analysis with the team, a lot of errors which were picked out will be worked on if the team is to succeed in future tournaments.
A lot of areas to work on coming back from the Sydney Sevens. We picked that up from our video analysis, and that's what we'll be working on in this upcoming camps we have here for Hong Kong. So yeah, basically that's what, and a lot of hard work ahead of us. So yeah.
The team may have not received the outcome they hoped for, but a lot of hard work and commitment lies ahead of them.
Not the results we wanted, but a lot of promising signs and a lot of we can work on leading up to the Hong Kong Sevens.
Godwin Eki, National EMTV Sports.
Chukai Sports continues with more after the break. Stay tuned.
Chukai Sports.
Welcome back to Chukai Sports. The SPPNG Hunters have 3 weeks training left before the start of the season, and EMTV had a chat with some of the players on their preparations before the start of the season. Senior player Moses Meninga asked 4 players on their preparations.
Hi everyone, I'm Moses Meninga. We are here at the National Football Stadium. This is where the boys do the ice baths. This is our shower. And this is the toilets. I'm going to have to ask a couple of boys some questions about how they are preparing for the season. So we have a Junior Rob here. Hey Junior, how are you?
I'm fine.
Good. You had what can you say about your preparation towards the season?
I'm looking forward for the season. We had some intensive session in the beginning, and then now we're gearing up for the season. So hopefully, I believe the boys are preparing very well to face the season.
For yourself, are you confident enough to face the challenges that are ahead as a hunter?
Yeah, for myself, I'm prepared 100%.
This is our home dressing set. Yeah, the boys. What can you say about your own club team, Gurias, and hunters? Are there any differences in terms of training and how we go about?
Yeah, the training is just similar that we do in last year's training with joined the Gurias. I came here just to see for me just to do the training.
We have Mackenzie here.
So far, so good. It's good, yeah. But a bit tough, but good.
You're looking forward for a good start and good season this year?
Yeah. Just looking forward, just pushing on the training and prepare for the first game.
Hey, Charlie. From one of my confederates straight to hunters, I think I must one feeling them challenging you or you perhaps like transition you.
Yeah, I'm challenging straight because planti mangi kind of planti mangi dream lo come to squad like me play on the trial then yeah me just give 110% domino trial so like if me come inside lo just squad me feel bonus but yeah me need to work hard lo yeah as we go to the future.
Thank you very much. Inside information lo lantas. Some of the boys are new boys and others are old boys. They are looking forward for a competitive season this year, and to all our fans and all our families and relatives, please come and support us as usual. We have 26 more sleeps to go before round 1, before the hunting season is on. Cheers, thank you.
And that wraps up Chukai Sports for tonight. Up next, the weather details for the next 24 hours.
Chukai Sports. Chukai Sports.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
A quick look at the weather in the southern region: a shower or two in Port Moresby, Daru, Kerama, Alotau and Popondetta. In the Mamasa region, a shower or two right across the region in Lae, Wau, Medang, Wewak and Vanimo. Showers right across the region in New Guinea Islands region, in Lorengau, Kavieng, Kokopo, Rabaul, Kimbe and Buka. And in the Highlands region, a shower or two in Mount Hagen, Goroka, Kundiawa, Pandi and Wabeg.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
And that's how we end National EMTV News this Tuesday, the 12th of February 2019. From the entire news team, pleasant viewing. Good night.